Welcome to Uptown Rumble, heavy music in the Bronx. My name is Steven Payne, director of the Bronx County Historical Society. Today is March 5th, 2025, and I'm here with punk rock royalty, Tish and Snooky, sisters from the Bronx. We're going to hear all about their childhood and getting into punk and so many amazing stories today. So why don't you all start off by talking about your family history and background, and how you ended up in the Bronx ultimately?
Well, we were both born in Manhattan, and then we lived in a couple of places in Queens. And when our father abandoned us and our mother, we had to move upstate with our grandparents at this little house, Lake Secor, near Mahopac. And our mother was able to get back on her feet and got an apartment in the Bronx. She wanted us to grow up in a nice, safe neighborhood, and she managed to get this apartment even though she was a single mother with 2 kids. And we were in that apartment for maybe a couple of years.
3 years.
And then we then we moved to another apartment on Waldo Avenue. And I remember the landlord there said, that she had always kept this beautiful letter that our mother had written to get into the building because, again, she was a single mother and didn't have good credit or credentials, but she wrote this beautiful letter, and the woman took pity on her and took us in, and we were there in that apartment, and then we moved across the building to another apartment, and
Snooky's still
I've
there.
been there ever since.
Now, the first place you lived in the Bronx, do you remember around where it was?
It was on Broadway, 252nd Street.
Oh, so way up there. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Across
Wow.
from the park.
Yeah, right across from Van Cortlandt Park.
Sure. And how old were you both when you ultimately moved to the Bronx?
I think I was 11, right? And you were 9?
Yeah, we were. I was going into 4th grade, and you were going into 6th grade.
Okay. Yeah. I see.
PS 81.
PS 81. That's I see. And did that go through 6th grade PS 81, or you went to a different?
I went to PS 81, and then we went to junior high school 141.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And before we keep going down the Bronx road, wondering if you both could share, your memories up until the Bronx, as far as what it was like for you to move around so much, and kind of how you adjusted to all of that. Whatever you want to share from that period of your life. Yeah.
Tish, go now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess we were taken away from friends so many times that we became very close. And when we moved to Lake Secor, there were really no kids around, and so we used to stay up in the attic and draw, and that was about it. And it was hard for them to even get us out of the house. But
yeah, our mother would say, "Don't you want to go outside and play?" It was in the country, or go swimming in the lake. And no, we just wanted to stay in the attic and draw.
Now, did she grow up there herself, or did her parents, move there after she was already out of their house?
No, she was born in Lockport, and her parents were from Scotland. They were born in Scotland, and they immigrated and ended up in I think Walter was born in Buffalo, so they were around that area, Buffalo, and then Lockport. Mm-hmm. And then they moved to Queens, Brooklyn first, I think, maybe.
Okay,
Brooklyn
first.
And they had my grandfather. Our grandfather was a carpenter, and our grandmother would run the boarding house. So they had a boarding house first in Brooklyn Gates Avenue, I think it was,
Yeah.
and then in Queens somewhere. And that's my mother was devastated when they moved to Queens from Brooklyn because she really loved Brooklyn. And but then, you know, they had to move to Queens, so she had to change her life around.
I
But-
see. And did she share with the two of you how she first got into art? What, you know, sparked her artistic path?
Well, she was always artistic, and you had two choices back then of career if you were a woman. You could be a secretary, or you could what was it? Be a nurse or
Be a
something?
teacher.
A teacher or a nurse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure, sure.
three choices, I guess.
Sure.
So she really didn't want to be any of those, but she did study, I think, to be a teacher.
Yeah, she went to Pratt.
Oh,
So,
okay,
you
okay,
know,
I see.
She could be an art teacher.
I see.
She
see.
became a commercial artist and designed greeting cards and children's books. We have some of that.
Wedding
That's
books, beautiful,
amazing.
beautiful art.
That's great. So she was
Yeah.
doing that through all this period where you were moving around a lot. She would have gigs like commercial.
Yeah, at
Art
first she
gigs.
was freelance, and then when we moved to the Bronx, to across from Van Cortlandt Park, she was working at a studio called Williamsburg Greetings, and they were somewhere in Harlem, I think, and that was her first like steady gig, because before that she was a commercial artist, and then she met our father and got taken away from all that and had to run his business, which, you know, he had a store down by the piers in Manhattan, import export.
I see.
Import, export.
Like
Seinfeld. So and he had all his friends working for him, and they were robbing him blind, and he owed all sorts of creditors and stuff, and I think they moved to Philadelphia for a while, and
Wow.
then maybe to escape his creditors or something, and then they moved, and then when our father left,
He hightailed it back to Argentina, where he was from.
I see.
married someone else before he was divorced, and
Wow. And I'm guessing that your mother and he didn't stay in touch after that.
well, she was trying to, you know, get him to support us,
Of course.
you know, for child support, but that, you know, only, you know, the Argentine peso was worth like practically nothing, so we got practically nothing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, once in a while we got a present here and there, a little Catholic charm, like a little
Which would
gold.
make our mother furious
Because we were Presbyterian. We have some little saint or something. I think, oh wow, this is really cool. She said, that's Catholic. All right, whatever. It's still gold, but
That's right. Now, you already mentioned, you know, when you were living out in the country, being up in the attic, you know, drawing and all. Talk some about, you know, how your mother passed on her passion for art to you during your childhood.
I think we just, you know, we loved to play with all of her paints and glitter.
Yeah, when
And-
she was in Queens, and she was doing some greeting card design. So we started doing our own greeting card designs and wrapping paper designs, and we'd sell them to her.
I thought that was in Mahopac, because
I thought it was
David
in Queens.
Bellucci was making them
Maybe
too.
it was in both places.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
funny.
think when we were in Queens, I don't think we charged her, but when we
It
were
was
in,
free in Queens.
we were a little younger. Then we got hep to the jive when we were in Mahopac, and we started charging her, and she'd say, "Well, okay, I'll pay a penny for this one. Okay, this one's really good. I'll give you a nickel." And that way we could buy ice cream and stuff.
That's funny. Wow. Well, so you know, I guess you could say you started Manic Panic back then.
Well, yeah,
We actually did, because we, I remember being like super anemic, and they gave like a little, these little tiny glass jars or whatever you would call them, with a little flip lid, paper lid, like, and it was like a tonic that I had to take every day. And we had such a collection of them that we made Kool-Aid in all different colors, put them out, on a table, and sold it to all the neighborhood kids. Instead of like, a nickel for a big glass or whatever, they were like, I don't know, we were charging a penny or I don't know what, but we were making out like bandits.
Forget lemonade
really,
stands.
Yeah, because you had to have like, it was like a bar, you had to have shots. And they were in the best colors, like all the...
And I think David Bellucci gave us like a quarter or something because he wanted like all of them.
Just give me, keep them coming.
And we loved them. But then our mother made us give it back because it was too much.
God. That's
yeah,
gold.
Quarter back then was a lot.
For sure. Wow.
So we always say that's how we got into the color.
Yeah, it was because of all our mother's paints and the Kool-Aid and
that's
glitter.
Right. And then we expanded into entertainment, because we were on the ground floor, and what we would do is open our window, and all the kids would sit outside, and we would do puppet shows.
Oh my God! Wow. I guess you all would make the puppets, right?
They would. I don't know.
Would you have
just had some puppets?
Okay.
But then we'd also have the concession stand.
Yeah,
the
show was
so it was a free
the
show.
show was free, but
we made our money on the concessions.
Wow. That's so interesting to hear about. And how were the two of you dressing in your childhood?
Oh my God.
Hand-me-downs.
Whatever
Total
we could.
Okay.
Hand-me-downs.
Whatever we could get from anybody, that's what we were wearing. We were really poor. Our neighbors were on welfare, and we thought they were rich.
Yeah.
I mean, my mother wouldn't take welfare. I think she took it for like 2 months or something.
And we were thrilled. We thought we were rich when we could
have ice cream. It was amazing. But,
Wow. Now, talk some about what it was like for the two of you, still children, becoming, on the cusp of teenage years, to come to the Bronx, and, the public schools, and what your experience was like.
It was like
it was
Oliver
really
Twist.
Traumatic. Because we had finally settled, our mother had moved out of her grandparents' house into an apartment in Mahopac, the big town, and so we were there for 4 years, and we had friends, and we were finally settled somewhere, and then we were uprooted again and put in this totally new, different environment in the Bronx. It was, up there, everybody, all our friends were poor, and nobody cared about clothes, and
It wasn't as obvious. It really wasn't. There were rich people up there too, but we were younger too, and it was harder to tell really who had money.
Yeah, it didn't seem to matter. But when we got to the Bronx, everybody in our class, they'd get new clothes every fall, and we were in these really dated clothes from the 1950s, and they were in this like swinging 60s outfits, and we were in these little shirtwaist dresses and totally out of style, and like we were from Mars.
And I put a stop to that, because I took the clothes, and my mother had an old sewing machine, probably from the store, from their store that they had, and I just sewed up everything. I took the old clothes, like the skirts that were like below the knees, and I chopped them off, and I made them into mini skirts, and really changed everything around so that I wouldn't look so lame.
Yeah.
And and then, oh my God, our poor mother, she bought us these like orthopedic looking shoes. our clothes weren't bad enough. She bought us these Oxfords,
navy blue Oxfords,
and she
for
thought that's
school.
what you're supposed to wear to
And
school.
we got
so-
black patent leather for Sunday.
But
these
we-
little Mary Janes for Sunday.
But when we moved to the Bronx, I don't think we even got those patent leather shoes.
No,
But
I guess we didn't.
I wore a pair of sneakers, like little pointy sneakers, for the whole year because I would not put those things on. I wore them one day and people are like looking at me. I just remember my face turning red, beaten red because of those shoes. And I swore I would never wear them again, and I would never wear ugly shoes in my life. I wore the sneakers through the snow, everything. It didn't matter. I would not put those shoes on.
I did the opposite. I just gave up and I wore whatever, any horrible combination, unmatched plaids with these like horrible navy blue Oxfords. I just didn't care and just thought, well, I'll just focus on my studies and, be a bookworm, and that's what I was. That's what I did. I just had kind of given up.
I just loved fashion, and I just always wanted to be fashionable. And, even before we moved to the Bronx, I remember, being so thrilled that Maxine in my class said, "Oh, you look gorgeous. You look gorgeous." I was wearing this little outfit that somebody had given me, Mrs. Deeden, I think, because we were so poor that we always, the neighbors would take pity on us and buy us a new outfit.
And when we were in the country, we didn't even know we were poor until we were collecting for the poor at school, like bringing in canned foods to do these baskets at Thanksgiving for the needy.
Yeah.
And so we brought in a can, and then we got one of those baskets delivered to our door.
Oh my God.
I was horrified.
I was
Oh
thrilled.
my God! We're needy. We're one of those needy families that they're collecting for.
I was like, I can't believe
so
we have food.
embarrassed.
I was so excited. I thought, this is so cool, free food, and it's like, stuff we would never buy, like a bag of stuffing,
course.
and
Of
all
course.
this great stuff.
Yeah, it's always interesting. We end up recording so many oral histories here with people who, at least on paper, are below the poverty line, but never knew it growing up because they had it, always food on the table and things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when they find out about it, oh wow, I guess we're poor. But yeah, so Tish, do you remember, was there anything in particular that drew you to fashion, or it was just an interest that you always had? Like, was there a moment where you thought, oh, wow?
I think I just always had it, and I remember my mother trying to get me to wear a pair of brown pants, snow pants, and even before that, when I was
a little gray suit.
I must have been like 3 or something when my grandmother had bought me a little gray pleated skirt with the little blazer jacket and everything. It was like so cute. I would think it was really cute now for a kid, but back then I thought, it looks like a boy's outfit. I'm not wearing that. And I would scream when they put it on me, and I hated it. And I only wanted to wear like, pink and turquoise and, baby blue and like pretty colors and red. And, I was so particular from the time, I guess, I was born. It was something in me that just, and I guess it was like that with the hair color too. I always hated my brown hair because it was almost black, but it was brown, and I didn't want brown hair. It was like so common or so, So I was so happy when we discovered that we could dye our hair pink and blue and purple.
Now, this might not make sense to talk about until a little later, but I guess it depends on how old you all were when you first dyed your hair. How old were you, and how did you discover it?
I remember we were in Vermont.
Yeah, we were teenagers, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Teenagers, okay.
Teenagers.
And we got these box dyes, and we thought they would dye our hair. I thought would dye my hair red,
Yeah.
but it didn't.
Because it wasn't a peroxide dye. It was just it was like a semi-permanent type dye, and it only kind of coated the hair, so it might have given her like a little bit of a red highlight in the sun or something, but it didn't dye her hair red. So she was really disappointed. I got black because I was also very goth since the time I was born, and I dyed my hair like jet black, and it did take. And I remember when my mother finally saw me with it, she said, "It looks so dead." Your hair looks so dead. And I loved it. But, that was the first time I dyed my hair.
Okay, I see, in Vermont. Was that on like just a family trip or something like that?
No, we were with my boyfriend and some of his friends, I guess, and we all rented, well, we didn't pay for it, but they rented an A-frame chalet up in Rochester, Vermont, and that's where we would go, like in the summer sometimes.
I see.
And swim in quarries and eat corn.
and dye your hair.
And dye our hair. And, listen to T-Rex and stuff.
Now, we'll keep going down that path in a little bit, but since you brought up T-Rex, I was wondering if you could talk about the music that you'd hear in your household first, if there was much, and then the music that you were hearing, around the neighborhood or at school with your friends in the Bronx. Yeah.
I think.
Well, our father brought these records like Harry Belafonte and
Sure.
Lord
Calypso
Invader,
records.
Lord Invader,
Oh,
and
Calypso
Lord
records,
Beginner,
too, yeah.
like 78s.
Yeah.
Sure.
We grew up with 78s mostly because I guess we couldn't afford 45s yet or whatever, but there were tons of 78s that we could play, and we used to have a lot of fun listening to Calypso.
Wow.
And Latin,
Sure.
Brazilian, and Argentine.
Wow. And what about your mom? Was she drawn to any particular kind of music, or she was listening to everything?
I think she was into more big bands.
Okay.
I remember she liked Tommy Dorsey.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And they used to go out dancing a lot. So.
Okay, I was going to ask
maybe
that.
that's how they met.
Yeah. No, he
hoodwinked her.
he was a charmer. He
was
advertised.
a Latin lover.
He advertised for someone to teach him English, and every time a guy would apply, he'd say, "No, I found someone already. Thank you." And so he was looking for a woman,
Looking for the ladies.
and he found my mother, and that's how they got together.
Wow.
But, I remember we were listening to a lot of kind of when we lived in Queens. I remember when he was still around a little bit, listening to stuff like kind of pop music, I guess, or what would you call it back then? Like, well, there was some folk and
Oh, of course. Some
pop
folk
on
back
the
then.
radio, or maybe like Perry Como and
Sure.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I remember it was my birthday was coming up. I was going to be maybe 4 or something, and they asked. I wanted a record. I wanted a 45, and my mother asked me what I wanted, and I wanted Tom Dooley.
Ah, okay.
I told you I was goth.
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
very
Wow.
depressing song, and she didn't want to get it for me because she thought it would be really bad to give me a record about a guy, who killed somebody and then was going to be hung. So she didn't buy me that, and she bought me tan shoes and pink shoelaces.
Oh my God.
And I was like, not that happy about that. I mean, I listened to it, but it wasn't what I wanted. I think she thought that would like bring me out of
Well,
my...
wasn't it like the same name, Dooley? I've got a guy and his name is Dooley.
Yeah,
So
she
should
thought I
I.
would.
Maybe
She thought I
she
would
would trick her.
yeah.
But couldn't put one over you, huh?
No.
But I thought he sounded like the coolest guy. Tan shoes and pink shoelaces.
The
A
outfit
polka
was-
dot vest and man, oh man.
And a pink Panama with a purple hat band. So yeah, that was my first record.
I see. And Snooky, what about you? What was your first record?
The Twist.
Ah, okay, okay.
I was so excited, and I started twist parties at lunchtime in my class in like 4th grade, I guess. So they put on the record and we twist.
Wow.
And all the dances we did, we learned from American Bandstand.
Oh, I was gonna ask
And
you.
so we
Oh,
would do the
yeah.
mashed potatoes and everything, you know.
Wow. Wow.
Then hullabaloo. But that's how you
Yeah,
learned
but-
how to dance.
That's right. That's
And you
right.
learned all the songs that were out.
That's
with
right.
American Bandstand.
That's right. So when you all were in the Bronx, what were the kids your age listening to? What was kind of in the air at the time?
The Beatles.
The
Beatles
Beatles, for
just-
sure.
I think the
Yeah.
Beatles had just kind of started taking over the
Sure.
airwaves.
I was still more into Motown. I liked,
Sure.
I still
like
like
Four Tops.
Motown the best.
Yes. Yes. Excellent stuff there. And as far as your own kind of journey into rock and roll, what was there anything that really like kick-started it for the two of you? Was there any song or maybe concert that you went to that really sparked your interest?
Well, we started going downtown as soon as we could.
Okay.
Well, even when
We were going to high school, the
Yeah.
High School of Music and Art.
Okay. Sure.
And
And both of you, right?
yeah.
High School
Yeah.
Music Corps, yeah.
Snooky
Yeah.
went on music, on viola, and I went on art.
I see.
And then after that, we'd start. I went to NYU in the Bronx, at the Bronx campus first, and then they sold it, so I was transferred downtown.
Sure.
But we started going down to Max's and hanging out down in the East Village, and then started seeing bands, and then wanted to be in bands. And
But even before that, we were in the Bronx before we went downtown. We were getting into.
oh
it.
yeah, we had
because-
friends. We were living across from the Manhattan College dorm.
Sure.
So we were in
Sneak over
high
there.
school, and we were like stalking the guys, who were in college.
boys.
So we started making friends with some of them and hanging out at the dorms, and there were some kids. They were Latin kids, and they were playing horns and this and that, and they had a gig, and we went with them, and we insinuated
dancers.
ourselves into their act.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
That was
Any-
our debut.
That was your debut. Do you remember where that was? What?
Manhattan College.
Oh, that was at Manhattan College that they had the gig.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
down the hill
Yeah.
from us.
Wow.
so yeah, we got a taste of that, and even before that, like when we were little kids living in, we lived on 205th Street, just right across from the Bronx, 205th
Sure.
Street, right off of Broadway. We were living there, and we used to go into the butcher shop or deli or something, and the guy would give us slices of bologna, and we would perform. We would dance.
We'd have to perform, do a little song and dance, and then he'd give us a slice of bologna. That was our
And-
first paying gig.
Yeah, and we would always put on shows for our mother. We would make her watch our performances, and even and sometimes at family events, our cousin would take us into the other room and like prep us and everything, and then we would come out and entertain. So we were always
We always had that
that
showbiz
gene,
bug.
which was from our father,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I
because
see.
he was a big ham.
I see.
Mhm.
Now, when the two of you were, putting together your own performances, would you write songs or ditties to go with it too, or you'd have songs playing in the background?
Everything. Like
Yeah.
we started out lip syncing to the Supremes and stuff like that, and but then we, started doing our own songs and things. And
Yeah, sometimes we'd be writing little ditties, and we were at one point really into prank phone calls.
way before the Jerky Boys.
Yeah, we were the jerky girls, and we'd call people up and sing these little songs
Oh my
about
God,
them.
we were just talking about that, like saying that should we call up? I'm not going to say who it is because then you're going to definitely know it was us. But should we call them up? It's been like 50 years. Like it'd be really funny to leave a message.
Wow.
But yeah, we had some of the calls later on recorded. We had recorded these. I'm sure the tapes disintegrated by now, but that poor Indian doctor.
Oh my God.
We were driving crazy. He picked us up hitchhiking once. And
Yeah,
my
we were
God.
hitchhiking from the Bronx downtown with our cousin, and he picked us up. He made the mistake of picking us up, and we saw his name on a newspaper.
And then that was it.
That was it for him. We prank called him for like 10
oh my
years
God,
or
we
something.
prank called so many people, like famous people too, because a lot of people didn't have their numbers unlisted.
Yeah.
They just, like famous artists and
Yeah.
all sorts of
It's just right
people.
there in the yellow pages.
Who did
huh?
we call?
Yeah.
They're probably dead, so they can't.
We called Rex Reed. I think we might have called Kurt Vonnegut
Oh my
Yeah, I think we did once.
and Klaus Oldenburg
Oh,
and Larry
Malachi
Rivers.
McCourt. Oh my God, so many people.
that's insane! Wow.
I know.
did anyone ever figure out who it was?
except for Captain Beefheart, because we were giving him phony phone calls when he was in the hotel when they were playing in New York.
Ah, I see.
So
I see.
then he put us on the guest list.
Yeah.
And then we met them and Snooky ended up going out with Rockhat Morton, and I was going out with Sudhorn Rollo.
Wow. Wow. Now, do either of you remember what the first concert or kind of live show that you went to was?
Yep.
Mhm.
It was the same for both of us. It was
Santana
Oh, okay.
and
at the Fillmore, right?
it was at the Fillmore East, and it was Santana, Butterfield Blues Band,
Oh, sure.
and the Voices of East Harlem.
Wow.
And I might even have the program somewhere. I
Wow.
don't, like the little flyer thing.
Yeah. And what was that like for you to experience?
Oh my
I
God,
loved
it was
it.
like, smoking pot all the way down
Uh-huh.
in a little Volkswagen, and drinking
Oh,
beer.
yeah, it
and,
was heaven, and then we were really hooked.
Yes, I bet.
Hooked
I
on
bet.
downtown Manhattan and hooked on the showbiz and music.
What was? I guess I was around 15,
Okay.
and you were 17, so yeah.
And what was the kind of scene like at Music and Art as far as other kids there that were in the same kind of music and things like that?
It was a very cool school.
It
Yes.
was.
Yeah.
I bet.
Everybody was like hippies and didn't matter really what you were wearing. So that was a relief for me.
Yes.
I could wear bell bottoms and a sweatshirt and be cool. And so, yeah, it was fun.
Music and Art was great, yeah. Except I kind of dropped out because it was just, I don't know. It's like, this is too much work.
Yes. And I know you said that you both dyed your hair when you were teenagers. Was it while you were still at music and art when you started dyeing your hair? Is that right, or after?
It might have even
I guess it was like music and art.
maybe
like
around that time. Yeah, I
Okay.
guess. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably right at that time. Yeah.
Okay, and talk about like what it was like walking around with dyed hair. How many other people were doing it at the time? How was it received?
Well, it wasn't this kind of dyed hair.
Yes,
and
sure.
We'd only
So-
tried that fake hair color
Sure.
in Vermont that one time. Then we really got into this kind of color when we opened our store.
Okay, not until
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
until then. I see.
Yeah.
I see.
I mean, believe me, if we had known about it back then, we
You would
would
have.
had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I remember like putting ink in my hair, thinking like I could dye it. You know?
Okay.
Just like a bottle of ink, and it came out really weird, and it didn't do much for the hair. It was like my hair
Except
wasn't
damage
happy. It was
probably.
pretty damaging. Yeah.
I bet. Wow. So what are some other of the shows that you went to around this time after Santana, if you remember, ones that stick out in your mind?
Let me think.
We saw the band at the Felt Forum.
Okay.
Oh, I saw the Doors at the Felt Forum.
Oh wow. I bet that was a
Oh
trip.
God, it was so cool.
I saw Janis Joplin
Oh my
at the
God.
Garden.
Wow.
And Donovan.
Uh-huh.
And Tim Buckley, we loved Tim
Oh.
Buckley.
Sure.
And we would go to little clubs to see Captain Beefheart everywhere, anywhere they were playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was, I can't remember who else. I think we saw,
We saw the Beach Boys in Central Park.
Oh.
And wasn't Linda Ronstadt opening for them?
yeah, they hated her.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the audience hated her for
Poor
some reason.
thing.
I feel bad for her now, but sometimes people just want to see whatever.
Yeah.
That's right.
The
Well,
band
we
is.
know that from experience when
Yeah,
we
when
opened
we got-
for Twisted Sister at
Oh,
the Mid-Hudson Civic
okay.
Center.
Their
Yes.
fans don't want to see anybody but Twisted
Only
Sister.
Twisted Sister.
I've never been so bruised.
Oh my God, we were pelted with
Oh
cigarette
my
lighters and
God.
God knows what else.
Money.
Oh my
They were
God.
throwing money at us. It's like,
Oh my
Make us go
God.
away.
Wow. Now this it sounds like would have been maybe a few years after the shows that you all were talking about. But do you all remember? I think it was maybe 71 or 72. There were a few concerts at Gaelic Park in
We
Manhattan.
ushered.
Yes.
Oh,
We were
okay.
usherettes.
we were usherettes, yes.
Okay.
So we could get into the shows
Of
for
course,
free.
of course.
And get paid $5 or something.
And then our gig was canceled because nobody would sit in their seats and the chairs were all knocked over and everything. So they didn't
That was the
need-
Irish Rovers. It was the worst drunken crowd.
Oh my God. It was like,
But we saw the association there.
Okay. Yeah, the association.
and a few others. I can't remember who.
Black Sabbath, I know, played there one time,
Oh,
and
I
Alice
didn't know
Cooper.
that.
Alice Cooper, I didn't go in. I couldn't afford it, and I was standing outside with Ellen.
I know
She
Grateful
wanted to
Dead
pay,
did.
and I didn't have any money.
The Yes did. Let's see.
We could watch from our roof.
Yeah,
Oh,
our
oh, yeah, of
apartment
course, that
building
makes sense.
overlooked.
Yeah.
Over-
That
Overlooked.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Why
Gaelic
pay
Park.
retail?
Did that really tall apartment building?
No, we were in the
Oh.
crappy one.
It's-
next
Oh,
to
okay,
it.
okay. Oh, okay. I know exactly
Shanty
which
one.
one. Yeah.
Next to it.
But yeah, thanks to that staircase, you can see
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's a little known moment in Bronx music history. Those shows there, but they put on some pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
they did.
Yeah.
And didn't somebody say something about the cheapskates on the roof?
Yes, that was us.
Yeah. What band
Yeah,
said it though? I
cheapskates on the roof. That's us.
Which band said it though? I can't
That's
remember.
funny.
Forget.
Wow.
There are a lot of bands that played there for a while. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm surprised they don't do it again. It was kind of.
I know. It's a large area. I mean, there's not a whole lot of areas like that
Yeah.
in the Bronx, but yeah, they should. Anyone listening
They
to this,
should.
they should. Now, talk some about how you first, heard about Max's, and if you remember the first show that you went to at Max's.
Our cousin
Yeah.
turned us on to
Okay.
Max's.
Our cousin Jeannie, she was always the one instigating, and
Because she was older, so she was the ringleader.
I see. Oh, is that the one that you hitchhiked with too?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I see. I see.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, she was our role model.
Did she go to music and art too?
No.
No,
But she was the black sheep of the family before us. So.
I
yeah,
see.
she paved the way for us.
Wow. So yeah, what do you remember the first show that you saw at Max's?
I guess I'm trying to think. It might have been the Dolls.
Oh,
It might
okay.
have been the Dolls. I remember I think it might have been the Dolls, and it was the Dolls. Because
Dolls.
I think we got in because we used to play there when we were in Blondie,
Sure.
and I think we got into the Dolls somehow
I
for
see.
free
I
because
see.
we couldn't afford it. We used to share a subway token and go down to Max's. We didn't have
On the
any
last
money.
stop on the 1 train,
Uh-huh.
and we'd put on our makeup all the way down, and
Leave the house at midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had these like ugly flats that we would wear until we got like outside of Max's, and then we'd throw the shoes in the bushes and put on these stiletto heels and prance into Max's as if we just alighted from a taxi instead of schlepped down from the Bronx on the subway.
In
Wow.
our subway shoes.
In our subway shoes.
In your subway shoes for sure. Wow. And how were the two of you dressing at this point in time when you first started going around Max's?
It was very glam, but it was called glitter rock or whatever.
Sure.
We were glitter children. We were
Yeah.
called, Oh, are you a glitter child? That was before they had the term glam, I guess.
Yeah.
But, we were glitter children.
Wow.
We used to wear stars in our hair.
Yeah, even in high school we were glitter children because I had this idea of like gluing those, those stars that you get when you're good,
Yeah.
gluing them onto a piece of thread and tying the thread in the middle, like 3 pieces of thread, and then putting them in our hair like a headdress.
Yeah, so they wouldn't
And
fall out.
So they'd be in our hair. So even in college I was wearing those.
Interesting. Wow. Now, before you became glitter children, did either of you ever adopt like a hippie
Oh, yeah.
look at all?
Oh,
Yeah.
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 We were very hippie.
I see. So from hippie to glitter child, was there any transition period or anything?
Yeah, there was
Between-
always a transition
Yeah.
between each thing,
Yeah,
each
definitely.
look, and then it went from glitter to punk. When we
Uh-huh.
were in Blondie, it was like morphing from glitter to punk.
That's right.
So we were still wearing platform shoes and glitter, but sort of trash
Yeah.
goddess too.
Sure.
Going back and forth from spike-heeled shoes to platforms sometimes, and then we realized forget about the platforms. They're too
Although we
disco.
still have a pair of Debbie Harry's platforms.
Wow, that's incredible.
and I have a bunch of my old platforms, and they're featured in a song we did when Syl passed away. We did a cover of what's it called?
Pills.
Pills. Yeah,
Wow.
and my shoes are featured, so I'm really excited about that.
That's great.
I love my shoes.
Now, talk some about the Dolls. What was it like to see them while they were the few years they were on the circuit, and what was your impression of the Dolls?
Oh my God, they were like gods.
They were the coolest.
I mean, we were so young, and we just, went into this whole Max's scene, and
We were like kids in a candy store with all these cool, glamorous people.
yeah, back room of Max's, and the dolls being there, and
David
Alice
Johansen
Cooper, and-
holding
Uh-huh.
court. I remember him sitting there with, I think it was like Mick Jagger, and I
Wow.
was like, oh my God.
I mean, we just couldn't believe it that we
Yeah.
were there.
Yeah.
And that, we kept going all the time, and so they finally, like, at first they tried to keep us out because we were obviously not cool.
Well, I think we were obviously not of legal drinking age.
Yeah.
Was probably the main thing, because I remember them asking for an ID, and I never had an ID because I was only, 16 or something. So whatever I was, I definitely wasn't drinking age
Sure,
when
sure,
we
sure.
first started going there. So
Wow. And did you all ever get to know Arthur from the Dolls very well?
yeah, we knew Arthur.
Ted.
Shut
Because he's from the Bronx, or he was from the Bronx too.
I didn't know
Um,
that.
I don't remember what neighborhood he grew up in, but yeah.
We would have actually had something to talk about.
And was this around the time that you all met the dictators too?
That was a little later.
A little later.
pre-dictators. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
Yeah,
we
yeah,
met
yeah.
the dictators later.
because I guess this would have been what, 73, something like that, 74 maybe.
Yeah.
With the Dolls.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, probably 73, 70. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably 73.
something like that. And what were some of the other bands on the scene, at this time then that you were particularly struck with?
Well,
The
the
Miamis.
We
Oh,
loved,
sure,
we loved
sure.
the Miamis. They were so much fun, and
There's a band called Street Punk, Super Dude Party. Who else?
oh my God. Oh, Jane County.
Oh, of course.
Wayne. It was Wayne County back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember going to all of Wayne's shows. And who else? There were, I can't remember.
Oh,
There's
no,
so
no,
many.
that's
But
fine. I know there were a lot at the
Yeah.
time. And what other spots aside from Max's would you two go to?
The 82 Club,
The 82 Club for sure.
which had been around since our parents' day. Our mother had
Yeah.
gone there.
Wow.
And they had drag queens even then, back then.
Wow.
And the same women were at the door, Tommy and Butch, because our mother said to us, "Oh, and there were these two women at the door, but they were dressed like men." And we said, "Oh, that's Tommy and Butch." We know
By
them.
the time we got there, they were like, they look like old men.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're,
Wow. And as you all started hanging out more and more downtown, what was your mother's impression of what you were doing?
She couldn't stop us.
she'd say to us, "Oh, girls, this is such an unhealthy life you're leading."
Because we would leave at midnight, come home when she was, going to work.
Reeking of smoke, because you were allowed
Of
to
course.
smoke in the clubs
Everywhere.
back then. And, she just, but she couldn't stop us.
Yeah, yeah.
Just loved it so much. And
You know what? Going back to some of our first concerts, I just remembered another one.
Oh, sure.
Going to see Iggy Pop at the Electric Circus.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
We went a few times. I think we went 2 different years,
Yeah, it was when I was in college.
and we were so excited. The first time, it's just amazing that first of all, that I could get into places at 16 or 17, and also that we could see acts like that. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Iggy was
And it wasn't crowded. It wasn't sold out or anything.
No,
Yeah.
there were hardly any people. There must have been 20, 25 people at the most.
Wow.
And Iggy would, do his stage dive, and nobody would catch him.
Oh my
And
Everybody
God.
backed away.
They didn't know what to do
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
it was New York. Like, what are you doing? It's not like
That's right.
it's not like a crowd in Detroit, I guess. But
And he was covered in glitter. We had our mother's
Wow.
8mm camera, and we
Oh, that's amazing.
took some footage, but the only footage that came out was when photographers were like snapping pictures and
which
the
was
flash
the
bulbs
only
went up.
it was Bob
went
Gruen.
off.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
pictures from that, I think. So that's the only time.
He's got so many amazing pictures.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
does, he
But it's
does.
funny that we were there at the same time, and any time his flash went off, we had like a little frame,
Wow.
but you could hardly see. It was really blurry and
Yeah.
not great. But that was the second time we saw him. The next year, the first year we saw him, he was wearing the red underwear.
Ah, I see. Now, did you all ever see? Did MC5? Did they ever come through New York while you all were?
If they did,
maybe
we
a
didn't
little too
see
young.
them.
We
Yeah.
missed them, but we were friends with Wayne after,
Sure,
because
sure.
he used to be in our country shows. We used to put on country shows at CBGB. They were called Hayride Round the Bowery, and we would have Hilly loved it because he loved country music.
Yeah.
And we would put them on, I think it was once a month or something, or once every 2 weeks, or I can't remember, but Wayne was always a part of our show.
I see. Wow. Now, talk about how you met the folks in Blondie, and how you got involved with Blondie.
Well, we were in a show called the Palm Casino Review, which was at the Bowery Lane Theater across from CBGB. And I don't know, how did we got into that show through our friend Gorilla Rose, right? He got us into that show.
Yeah.
And,
Because we were backstage at, I think it was Town Hall, because the Miamis were playing for the Comet Cahootec. And so we were in the dressing room, and Gorilla was standing there in his clear plastic tuxedo, and he was expounding and expostulating about how he was going to start this act, and
called Gorilla Rose and the Gutterettes.
and he was looking for two backup singers to be the Gutterettes, and Tish tugged on his tux tail and said, "We're singers.
We're the Gutterettes.
We could be your
We're your
Gutterettes."
Gutterettes.
So we, at one point, we were Gorilla Rose and the Gutterettes,
Yeah.
but he was, in this show, Palm Casino Review,
Sure.
and
Which was like a variety show, like vaudeville.
Yeah.
Like old-fashioned
Wow.
vaudeville. And it was so cool, and it had some of the Coquettes in it, and Trocadero ballerinas, and all sorts of Lower East Side people, Sweet Pam, and
just such a wacky, motley crew.
Joaquin
Absolutely.
La Habana, and all sorts of great
Just
talents.
one act after another, and
Somebody brought Debbie and Chris to see us.
yeah, I think Gorilla or Tomato invited them because they knew that Blondie was looking for backup singers.
I see.
So they said, "Oh, you should come and see Tish and Snooky. They'd
Yeah.
be good."
Yeah.
And so they came and saw us and came backstage after and said, "Oh, why don't you come to our rehearsal?" And so we went to the rehearsal, and then we were in the band.
Wow. And yeah, so aside from performing at the variety show before you got hooked up with Blondie, had you all been performing with other bands or anything like that?
Yeah, before that, we had a band called the Flying Bellomo Brothers and the Porno Rock Review.
Wow,
So,
that's an impressive name.
There was no porn. We just
We sang
dirty songs.
dirty songs.
Rugby
So-
songs. Songs by Doug Clark and the Hot Nuts.
Wow.
And we'd wear our old costumes from our dance school. We still fit into them.
And we wore them in the Palm Casino Review as well.
I see.
And we would, Eric Emerson used to play at CBGB. He was one of the first bands. The Magic Tramps played at CBGB, and I never. They always say that Television was the first band to play there, and maybe they were, but I don't remember ever seeing Television there.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing a band called Leather Secrets, because the drummer from the Palm Casino Review was in that band, and I remember seeing the Magic Tramps with Eric Emerson, and he loved us, and he used to ask us to come over and do a little thing on stage, and so we would run across the Bowery in these like dance school outfits, you know, with all the
Skimpy
feathers
little-
and, you know, stuff.
Like bathing suits, and we'd run across the Bowery. Traffic would stop. We'd be in these like wigs. I think we were wearing
White
these
wigs,
big white
yeah.
wigs. And then so we'd run
Wow.
across to CBGB and do our little thing with him between our shows at the Bowery Lane Theater, and then run back.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Now with Blondie, what are some of the I know we could talk a lot about it, but there's so many other things to talk about too. What are some of the more like memorable performances or moments that you had with Blondie?
I mean, there were a lot of funny ones. I mean, people loved us to open for them because, you know, we were girls and,
Yeah.
you know.
We were harmless, not
We were-
threatening, not
Yeah.
real competition.
Yeah.
Because we were girls, we weren't really competing in their, you know, territory or whatever.
Yeah.
So they really liked us. So we opened for a lot of people. And
We also played at the bar where Debbie worked called White's downtown in the finance district. And
We
we
would do
do
our
conga
conga
lines
Of
and get
course
all
there's-
these businessmen to be on a conga line with us for the bar.
yeah, I think we kind of added a good spark to the band, like a little bit of humor, because,
Sure.
you know, we would think of things like that. Let's do a conga line, you know.
And let's do a tap dance.
Yeah.
And Debbie was so good natured, she'd go along with it. Always
did.
open to things. Oh, okay, let's try that.
You added the
And then we
showbiz
did-
flair.
Then we did it in the Sic Fucks too.
Of course,
Yeah, we
of
had
course.
the
And then Buster Poindexter took it. You stole our conga line.
Yeah.
But no, conga lines are for everyone.
Yes.
Bring back conga lines, right?
I
Yeah.
love them. I think it's so much fun.
Now, how'd you all get hooked up with the Sic Fucks? Yeah.
It was another band we insinuated ourselves in, I guess.
Yeah, it was. Russell, the singer, had come by the store one night after work, and we were talking to him through the gates, and he says, "Oh, I'm starting this band called the Sic Fucks, and I've got a gig on, what was it?
It was a Wednesday night.
Wednesday
Audition
night,
night
audition night at CBGB. So Tish said,
We're your backup singers. And he said, okay. And he said, we're having a rehearsal. That's all the Sic Fucks, I think, had, was one rehearsal. And we did the rehearsal, and we were in the band.
and we packed the place because everybody came to see this band called the Sic Fucks.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, they had a great night at CBGB, sold lots of booze, big drinking crowd. And so we started. It was like a one-night joke that is still
Never
going
ending.
on.
Still going on. That's right. That's right. That's right. And you know, been part of a slasher film as well with them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all kinds of interesting things with them.
Yeah.
Now with Blondie or the Sic Fucks, where all would you perform? I mean, you know, outside of New York City, what are some of the places that you would go to?
We were looking into clubs in the Bronx, remember that?
Yeah,
But-
we were with Chris and Debbie and trying to get gigs in the Bronx, going to like the bars down
Sure.
on 231st Street,
Sure.
but there were no takers.
Never worked out. It's too bad.
Yeah, I think we went in at what was it, the Terminal?
Oh, yeah,
I
the
think we
Terminal
asked-
Bar at 242nd Street.
Nobody bit.
It's too bad. That's
Nobody
too
bit.
bad.
I know, I
Wow.
know. So we played, the furthest away from downtown we played was a club called Brandy's 2, was it, or Brand? Or
Yeah, it was on the Upper
East Side.
Okay, I see.
Brandy's.
And they loved us there because it was kind of like, it's a little bit, seemed like a little, I don't know, mobby or something. But we, other bands played there. I think maybe the Miamis played there first, brought Blondie. Then we brought the Ramones, and they did Sniff Some Glue, and we're told to stop playing and never come back.
But they liked us because we were harmless.
Yeah. Wow. Now, as all of this was taking off in New York, did you all start being exposed to some of the UK punk as well around this time?
Oh yeah.
Did you meet, I guess, the Sex Pistols or any of them when they came through New York?
Yeah. We there's a few funny stories, but I think the most ridiculous one is we had the last interview with Sid and Nancy
Scheduled.
Wow.
But we never had it.
Well, we had it on the street it was really weird. We were supposed to meet them at the Chelsea at a certain time. We went, we had our little tape recorder, you know, and waited. We waited like, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes or something. Finally, we gave up and we left. And who should be stumbling down the street but Sid and Nancy. And they're both like all dirty and covered in blood and stuff. And they started, we were just trying to get coffee and they beat us up. And, like the whole story. And us being bad journalists said, oh, we can reschedule. When do you want to do it again? Instead of just sitting them down. Hey, what happened? And,
Yeah.
Just idiots, but
being polite Presbyterians.
We're not Presbyterians anymore. But, so anyway, then, like, what was it, a week or two later, Nancy's gone.
Yep.
So that was kind of weird.
Mm.
But when the Sex Pistols came through, we, I remember being at, what was his name? The photographer, Joe Stevens. Joe Stevens. I remember being at his house because Johnny was staying there, and a friend of ours was really, just taken by Johnny Rotten and wanted to hang out there. So,
wow.
I remember hanging out there.
Now, in the downtown scene at this point, obviously you all are schlepping from the Bronx all the time. Did you know of other people who were from the Bronx who were hanging around at that scene at that point?
Not
No.
really. No.
Yeah.
No.
Or if
Not till we met Russell and the Dictators.
Yeah.
They were in a different train line. We were on the one. So
they
we,
were.
We wouldn't have seen them on the train or anything, I guess.
Yeah. But I guess Russell and then the Dictators are the only people that you, I guess, heard of at the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't know other people came from the Bronx.
Yeah, sure.
And no one in the Bronx looked like us.
Because how are the two of you dressing at this point in time? I guess we're talking about 76, 77, somewhere around there.
Oh, that was, we were definitely punk.
Yeah.
Punk, leather jackets.
Not punky. People say that and it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very punky.
I know.
But this, no such thing.
I had this leather jacket that had belonged to Johnny Thunders, and I think before him, Syl.
Wow.
And I had gotten it in a trade with Jimmy from the Miamis because he liked the jacket I was wearing. And so I would wear that all the time. I still have it.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's been in museums and stuff. We lent it out and lent out a lot of our stuff for the Museum of Sex when they had punk sex or something like that.
I forget the name of that exhibit, but that was a cool exhibit.
Yeah. A lot of our stuff was there.
Yeah.
Our nuns' gear,
Yes.
our mannequin. We dressed the mannequins in our nuns' drag and some of our, Johnny's jacket and
Wow.
Some cool stuff we had.
Wow. What kind of looks would the two of you get around the Bronx when you're coming off on the train?
Oh, we got looks. We were wearing fishnets and stilettos, and our neighbors didn't know what to make of us, and people on the subway.
Remember one of the neighbors said something about when she saw you coming home or something and said, "Oh, at her age," or
She's no spring chicken.
what,
Oh my God.
something about your outfit, and oh, at her age,
Oh yeah,
and you were only like 30 or something.
yeah.
But can you imagine what that woman would think now?
Yeah. I know, right?
Hey, I still have a mini skirt, by the way. I'm 70, so I don't care what you think now or then.
Yeah.
Never did care what people thought.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And I think a lot of this, and I just thought of this yesterday. A lot of this has to do with the fact that we grew up with such freedom because we didn't have two parents, and our mother was working, and we were left to our own devices. I was 9 years old walking through Van Cortlandt Park by myself, and all over the place, in places you could find me dead probably very easily, but I had this adventurous nature, and I don't think if I had the traditional upbringing that I would have this.
Yeah.
I really don't think it would have happened.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Kind of happy. I wouldn't trade my childhood.
Yeah.
Plus, usually we had each other, so there was a little bit of protection.
Sure. Did you all ever have to fight off anyone and everyone, if anyone ever gave you trouble for dressing the way you dressed or anything? Did you ever have to actually fight or use your fist?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, someone tried to mug Tish for her
Okay.
jacket.
Oh,
Yeah,
around the
I
corner.
It's
see,
a
I
little
see.
different. It
82
wasn't.
club.
She wasn't.
It was
she
just
didn't-
for the jacket.
She
didn't
wanted
care.
the jacket.
She wanted my
Yeah.
little jacket that I was wearing. It was like this beat up old, vintage. Back then we didn't know you shouldn't wear fur.
Yeah, sure.
Jacket with a little hood and everything. It was just this little. Anyway, it cost me I think $20 or something.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was worth anything. But this junkie girl, I guess, thought it looked like it was worth something. So she put me up against the wall, and had a knife at my neck.
Yeah.
And the reason I could fight her off was because she was left-handed. And I grabbed her hand with my right hand, and I bit her hand and took the knife.
Yeah.
Then I didn't know what to do with it because I wasn't going to kill her.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, I mean, it was dangerous back in the East Village back then.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
a lot different, but it never stopped us.
Yeah.
But I don't know, people would, the only time I was attacked, I guess I'm attacked a lot, but the only time I was attacked for the way I looked was at the opening of the Mud Club.
Okay.
There was the opening, and I think Shrapnel played, and but we were leaving the club and we were on Church Street and looking for a cab, and a whole bunch of kids from Long Island came punk bashing and started a fight with us and started, hitting the guys we were with, and Snooky was out of town, and all the guys from Shrapnel ran down the block and they came to help, and it was like West Side Story. It was a whole street fight.
Wow.
Which I had never really experienced before.
Sure.
And they were these guys were kicking one of the roadies from Shrapnel or something, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around and he sucker punched me in the face, and I went down like that.
Wow.
I was told it was very graceful, and
You looked good doing it.
and I just remember waking up and somebody saying to me, you know, I heard an ambulance was there, and they were telling me that I was knocked out, and I said, I wasn't knocked out. I fell down. I wasn't knocked. They said, yes, you were. You were knocked out, and you know, that was it. I had a big swollen
Wow.
jaw. Nothing wrong, but
wow.
so people could be violent
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like there were even where, you know, all of this scene was happening. It's not like it was an overwhelming number of people involved in it. It was still a pretty small minority.
Oh, it's a very
Yeah,
small scene
yeah.
still. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, talk some about, you know, I know this is something you all have talked about before, but talk some about, you know, what gave you the initial idea to start Manic Panic and that whole process, how that got started.
I think we just, you know, people liked the way we looked, and we had a friend who had a loft on 2nd Avenue, and she was doing like sales, like sidewalk sales or loft sales, and we were involved with her on that. And then, you know, she said, why don't we get a store? And we said, yeah, sure. So Gina was our first partner when we first opened up Manic Panic, and then we opened up the little Manic Panic at the CBGB Theater, and then, you know, there were 3 people, 2 sisters, so we always, like, Snooky and I would always agree on everything, and
She couldn't stand
she
it. She'd always be outvoted. She had her ideas, we had ours.
and she was British, and we were Bronx.
Sure.
So
Oil
there's
and
a
water,
difference,
right?
yeah. So you know, she had a great aesthetic and everything. She did really well on her own, you know. So she took the theater, and unfortunately, it closed.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
her idea. She wanted to leave. She said, you keep the store, I'll take the store at the theater. And then the theater didn't work out, so she moved to the West Village and opened a store there. We kept the store.
Wow. Now, talk some about, you know, did you see a shift in like the way that the scene was dressing after the store opened? Was it something that, you know, you all kind of set the groundwork for more as it?
We did.
Yeah.
We definitely did. Because we'd see the stuff from our store out at night.
Everywhere, huh?
Yeah, it was
yeah.
pretty cool. And then other stores started popping up, like Trash and Vaudeville was a vintage shop, and they opened up like a punk annex in the building. So they, you know, started doing punk as well, and there were a few others that opened up down the block, and Defiant Pose, and then so it started becoming, you know, at first we were like threatened. You're like, oh, you know, this is, you know, not fair. We want to be the only kids on the block.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, it became more of a destination, a shopping destination. So, you know, it was okay. And our rent kept getting higher and higher and higher till finally, you know, we couldn't afford it anymore. And, you know,
The
somebody
landlord didn't want us.
he didn't want to renew our lease, and
I see.
because he wanted, I don't know what he wanted, but then he said, I had the idea. I said, maybe, you know, you can put the old stairway back up and have 4 retail stores.
Yeah.
And put us upstairs and charge us less, because upstairs stores are always less expensive.
Sure.
So that was the idea, but it was supposed to take, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and then it took 1.5 years, and finally we gave up.
Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
he kept us waiting over a year. We were doing wholesale by then out of my boyfriend's studio apartment.
Wow.
Had everything in storage.
Oh my God.
And then, you know, after the space was ready, he said, no, I changed my mind about the rent. It's going to be like, you know, a lot higher than he had told us originally. So he didn't keep his promise. What a surprise!
Yeah,
A landlord
right.
that doesn't tell the truth. Oh
What
my
a surprise.
God.
Wow. Now, in the early years of the store, I'm curious about a few things, but talk some about, are there any like unusual items that you were stocking that that ended up not like, um, not becoming a staple later on just because, I'm sure you're trying different things, but talk some about like things that you stocked then that you might not have stocked later in the store.
Well, we probably still have some
We do.
that we haven't unpacked yet.
There was this woman who used to come to our store, Pat Riley, and she would sell us stuff from like the 60s that were in boxes, that I don't know how she unearthed these things, but there was some things that like we didn't even know what to do with, because she would say, all I want is $20 for all 3 boxes or whatever.
You have to take everything.
You have to take everything.
And there was like, bits that we would want, but a lot of it we didn't, but we got it all. Still have some of it.
So we have like, I think maybe we could sell them now if anybody wants them. The glow in the dark bracelets.
Oh, wow.
And these
from the 60s.
peace sign necklace combo earrings that, would be like so dangerous because it was like earrings attached to a necklace that, could be yanked off
Of
your
course.
At your own risk. But they're very
I saw
cool looking.
one of those recently.
Wow. And what would you do things, during these early years at the store, other than just sell things? Would you host events or anything like that there? What kinds of things were you
parties.
hosting?
We had our grand opening party.
Of course.
Ramones and
Everybody
Dictators
did.
and everybody came. And we'd rehearse at night in the
Suicide.
store.
Okay, sure. Wow.
Or party. Sometimes we'd sleep on the floor.
But we used to do events at like, the hayride around the Bowery at CBGB, and we would do Christmas shows there.
Sure.
A country Christmas or something, and we also did them at events at Boy Bar and what other club? Oh, the Mud Club.
57.
Oh, okay,
57
sure.
and the Mud Club and all
We were in
sorts
a show at Irving Plaza.
Wow.
Yeah, so we used to host a lot of shows.
Wow. And, you mentioned earlier that, you started dyeing your hair in, all these different kinds of colors when you opened the store. How did that whole process take place?
Well, we finally got a hold of those dyes,
Yeah.
and that was like the beginning of the end. I've been every color except yellow.
Okay, wow.
We would go over to England with our partner, Gina, and bring back suitcases of hair color from there. And we'd bring suitcases of stuff that we had here, like, vintage Beatle boots and sunglasses, whatever we could find. And we'd bring it over there and sell it. And then with the money, we'd buy stuff that they didn't have here. And one of the things was the hair color. And we'd also go to Vivian Westwood's store, Seditionaries, and buy T-shirts. And she was really cool. She would, give me a dummy invoice so I wouldn't have to pay a lot of tax on it.
Not that you even
Not that
showed
I
it.
did anyway, but it was very cool of her.
One time they stopped us at Customs and opened the suitcase, and it was definitely under like the limit of like the amount of money you could bring back in goods or whatever. But,
Sure.
I said, "What is all this?" And said, "Oh, it's hair color."
Yeah.
I said, "I want to try them all." And I think I had hair dye in, so it was like, "Look, all right, you're crazy. Go."
We were international smugglers.
Now, why was it so hard to find, those colors here in the U.S. at the time? They didn't make them.
They definitely didn't make them.
Yeah. So you all eventually started manufacturing it on your own, and how was that process? Was there a learning curve for that?
Definitely.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically what we did was we found the guy who invented it.
Yeah.
And then he produced it for us.
I see.
Because we had been importing one brand and then another from England, and the second one just wasn't supplying us and was, lying to us, and we were supposed to be their exclusive distributor, and they were selling to our customers behind our backs.
I see.
And we were like 3 months behind in shipping and getting yelled at by our customers all day long. We'd just have to answer the phone and apologize, and our mother was dying of cancer at the time. It was like the worst time of our lives. And so then Tish got the brilliant idea of contacting the inventor,
Sure.
who we tracked down, and he said, "Oh, girls, I was wondering when I'd hear from you."
Wow. Was he in England? The
No,
inventor?
he's in Pennsylvania.
He's in Pennsylvania. Okay. Wow.
So
That's
he
something.
became our manufacturer.
Okay. Wow. And how many colors were you stocking during the early years? If you
Probably
remember.
like 30 or something.
Okay. Wow.
I don't even know if it was that many
It
at
wasn't?
the beginning.
I thought it was, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was 15, 20.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. And just for context, how many colors do you produce
Probably
now?
50 or something.
Yeah.
We have a lot.
It's definitely exploded. Wow. Now, when you started stocking these new hair colors, and then when you started eventually, manufacturing them, were you seeing more and more of this around the scene where was it kind of taken off? There are a lot of
Oh,
people doing it,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was so much fun to see people using it, Richie Stott's coming in for his blue hair guy, for his mohawk, and
Cyndi Lauper.
Of course.
yeah.
Manic Panic was the go-to place for hair color.
Yeah. Wow. Now, I know like one of the distinctive parts of the hair color is it being vegan and cruelty free. Was that something that you all were very consciously thinking about from the beginning? Is it something that kind of evolved over time?
No, from the very beginning,
Yeah.
it was always cruelty-free
Yeah.
and vegan, and we just thought it has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be, yeah.
We always loved animals. We were obsessed with animals, especially cats.
Yes.
And it's always been our thing.
Yeah. And Tish, why don't you talk some about the clothing design and design of particular like costumes or outfits that you were doing at this time?
Well, yeah, I was doing costumes for us in our bands.
Of course.
In the Sic Fucks, and then we had a band called the Pinups, and then we had a band called Tish and Snooky. So throughout the years, I've done our costumes, and I've also, I made a dress for Kate Pearson once, and I used to do some of Dr. John's work. I would do like rhinestoning on his stuff. And things. Who else did? Oh, Cher bought one of my designs that was on a mannequin. It was a one of a kind, or I think in that particular color and fabric, it was a one of a kind. It was the same style as the one I was wearing when I was knocked out.
I see.
Remember it so vividly. And so I just, I still love fashion, and I still put things together, but I don't usually have time to sew.
Sure.
But, what can you do?
Yeah.
I'm busy.
That's right, yes. Now, talk some about, what your impressions were as, the kind of first wave of punk in New York started to transition to like hardcore. Were you all witnessing that? Were you still going to shows? And, what was your impression at that point?
I loved like walking by CBGB while the matinees were happening, but I didn't go in. I was like,
dangerous to go.
I was like,
We were always working.
Of course.
And we were working, and I think it was right around the time I had babies.
Of
so
course.
I didn't, I remember pushing my stroller by. Can't go in. I'd love to say hi to Hilly, but I can't go in.
And little Harley, who was a big part of the original hardcore scene,
That's right.
would come in the store with his mother and his aunt.
Oh my God.
And
when he was in the stimulator.
child.
Yeah, when the
He's like
stimulators, that's
12
right.
years old. And,
That's right.
And
Or younger.
so cute, and his mother would buy him some little bracelet. It was like studded bracelets or something, and
Wow.
we're still friends with him.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, I think he started playing with the stimulators maybe when he was 12, so he might have even been going into the store when he was like 10 or...
When he was
Yeah.
really young.
Yeah.
I just remember Rosebud having him, holding his hand, and he was so tiny. Just,
Wow.
he was a little kid.
Wow. Wow.
And then he was in the stimulators. It was like, wow.
I know. I know. So, over the years while Manic Panic was on St. Mark's, why don't you talk some about how the neighborhood was changing over the years and how, Manic Panic was relating to these changes and all?
It was totally dead when we moved in.
Yeah.
There were all these empty storefronts. Our rent was $250 a month, and we could barely scrape that together.
Sure.
We were living at home with our mother in the Bronx, so we managed. But people followed us there. Gentrification started, and the rents were going up and up, and we finally got gentrified out.
Yep.
The beginning of the end was when the Gap moved in.
Of course. Yep.
That was the beginning of the end, and all those. The St. Mark's Theater was gone,
Uh-huh.
and all these kind of landmark kind of stores, Shazam and stuff. Just like so sad.
I know.
It was the neighborhood just disintegrated.
It did, yeah. And what year was it when you all finally, moved out?
89.
89. Wow.
And we were so in denial that we'd ever have to leave that when the landlord gave us 2 weeks' notice
Yeah.
to get out, we were not prepared. We had nowhere to go. We just put everything in storage and started focusing on wholesale out of my boyfriend at the time, now he's my husband,
Yeah.
out of his studio apartment.
Wow. And after you, moved the store out of St. Mark's Place, would you still go back to that neighborhood very much, either of you?
Yeah, we were still part of the scene,
Yeah.
so we would be going, more to.
I would make deliveries to
Yeah.
customers
of
on the
course.
block because
Yeah.
we wanted our
We
product to still be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would, at the end of the day, drive up to UPS and then also deliver to the stores on St. Mark's Place
Sure.
and different places around
Sure.
the East Village and West Village. So yeah, we delivered.
Now, why don't you talk some about, this happened obviously after, a good amount of time after you all moved out, but the closing of CBGB and, what CBGB represented to the two of you.
It was our home away from home. It was a safe place for us, we were going there from the very beginning, like the beginning that most people don't remember, the
That's right.
Leather Secrets and what was Eric's band, the Magic Tramps,
Yeah.
like that era, and then the Ramones played and Blondie and everything, but we were there from the beginning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was our home, and Hilly was like our surrogate father,
Merv,
and Merv,
yeah.
and during the blackout, we went there.
I see. That's
and
interesting.
And
Yeah.
they were, letting in people that they knew and had candles and took us in.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so it was heartbreaking when it finally closed. It was, just so sad, and I always think, You know, that's what killed Hilly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It was just,
It broke his heart.
It really did. It was his baby, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, in spite of it all, obviously, you know, punk and its various offshoots is still going strong to this day. And I know the two of you were recently even recorded on the Dictators' new album. You want to talk some about, I guess, the Dictators in general and your experience of being on that record?
Sure.
We've always loved the Dictators. They're one of our all-time favorite bands. We're still friends with them, obviously.
Yeah. And we did, when they played The Bottom Line, we did a guest appearance with them there. I think that was the only time we actually sang with the Dictators
Okay.
on stage.
On stage,
Was
I've
that the
seen.
only
Oh, I think it was some New Year's Eve gig. I think we sang with
Huh.
them too.
I remember The Bottom Line because we did.
Yeah, because
we
Clarence
did-
Clemens played.
Oh,
Yeah, it
okay.
was- Us and Clarence Clemens, and we did a song called What It Is.
Oh, okay, I
And,
see.
But I don't remember New Year's Eve. I must have been drinking.
What are the chances?
And what about your most recent experience recording with them? How did that come about?
Well, we're still friends with all of them, even though they've all
Gone their own ways.
their own ways, kind of. And I don't know who the Dictators are anymore. There's, I guess, the Dictators. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think they're arguing about that.
Yeah.
But we are in a band called Blue Coupe with Albert and Joe Bouchard and Dennis Dunaway.
Sure.
And Albert is in the Dictators, so
And I guess he was doing the recording and maybe helping to produce with Andy Chernoff.
Yeah.
In his apartment. So we recorded there. I think it was a couple of songs, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. We finally got a copy the other night.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
that's
We had dinner at Albert's.
That's
We
great.
got our complimentary CD. Yeah.
Wow. And do you all have any shows that you're going to be a part of scheduled coming up?
No, not right now. The last show we did was by ourselves at, we did one in Washington Square Park.
Yeah.
In October, and we don't gig as much as we used to. We used
Sure.
We used to play at Sophie's Honky Tonk with Eddie Dixon, twice a week,
Wow.
and then we'd be at the Limelight on a Wednesday night or something. We used to gig all the time, and then do extra work in movies, and then open the store. And anyway,
Oh my God.
we were machines, but now we don't do it that often. But we do have an act called The Prisoners of Love.
Okay.
And so that's kind of fun.
And who's in that group?
It's Snooky and me, and our drummer from the Sic F, Dave Donan,
Okay.
and my son Orion, and I guess Jimmy Bones sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And who else?
My husband.
Oh, Andy.
Oh, okay,
That's right. I was
okay.
thinking, what's the other instrument?
Wow.
Okay, and Andy. So it's like it's kind of a family act.
Okay.
Because it's got Snooky's husband and my son. So
Wow.
Now,
over the years, Snooky, I know you played viola, right? Was it?
Mhm.
Did either of you, pick up guitar or bass or anything like that?
we picked him up. But, I think one time we played, didn't we play Strutter, which we called Butter with the Sic F? Didn't we do it once? We played our
Did we?
guitars. I thought we did once.
You
Maybe
played
not.
butter.
I know we rehearsed it. I don't know if we had the nerve to get on stage
Wow.
with guitars, but we never really.
I
I've
see.
taken up the Celtic harp.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, it's really fun, and I'm terrible at it, but
I was worse,
It's so
I
nice.
just said, I'm waiting till I'm old. Then I'll take it up again.
Wow.
But Snooky's pretty good. She lies.
Oh, thanks.
She lies like a rat.
Now, have a few more questions for you all. These are more like, I guess, looking back kind of questions. First, with Manic Panic, wondering if both of you could share your thoughts on, what it's like to see where Manic Panic is at now versus, in 1977 when you first were getting it off the ground.
I think it was a lot more fun back then. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it just seems like it.
No money, but more fun.
More fun.
Way more fun,
I see.
yeah.
I see. That makes
Now
sense.
there's more money, but less fun,
Less fun.
and so much stress.
Yes.
Even at this stage of the game, because we're still privately owned, no investors.
Yes.
And so we're still running the business ourselves.
Wow.
We've finally learned how, I think.
But we're learning a new job every day.
Yes.
Things are moving in such different directions that
And so fast that,
I know.
we're just
treading water.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's good that we're, always learning something new.
Sure.
It's interesting, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes. Yes.
And
Wow.
there's so much competition now. It's like, so easy to knock off, to find a factory to make it. It was like so hard in our day.
Yeah.
And now, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, if you want to go into business or if you want to, have your own product or whatever, can't you think of something new?
Like, no, they just have to take our product to a factory and say, hey, copy
Make
this.
it for
Yeah.
cheaper and
Yeah.
less
I'm an
ethically.
influencer. I have my
Yep.
brand now.
Yep.
Here's my hair dye.
Yeah. Absolutely. Make one video and they're an entrepreneurial.
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
And they get big money behind them, and
Yep.
it's, all a mirage. It's not
Yes.
really their company, but it makes, people think it is, and that they're entrepreneurs. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not at it every day, dawn till dusk,
Yeah.
That's
doing
right.
it themselves. It's all fake, but,
Yep.
that's what the world is now.
Absolutely.
They just all smoke and mirrors.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, no authenticity. But I think some of the younger generation really doesn't buy that anymore.
That's true.
Unfortunately, a lot of them do, but a lot of them don't.
That's right.
And that's our market. The free spirits who are, more like us,
Yeah.
like can see through the bullshit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like, bullshit's pretty thick, so you have to really be able to see through
and
it.
it's thicker than
And,
ever before, I mean.
Yeah, really. I mean, with AI and everything,
It
you
is.
can make it look like somebody's saying something they didn't say.
I know.
So,
I know.
I mean, it's frightening.
Yeah.
It's absolutely frightening. So, but it's also very cool.
Yeah. Now, was wondering if you both could reflect on, where you see punk rock now, and versus where it was when you all first were getting involved in the scene.
I think it's different, definitely different. But I think a lot of people still have that kind of DIY and kind of punk attitude that they should have if they're doing that music, and I think it's great.
I love that it's still around, and people are still into it and loving it, and some people still wear mohawks, colored mohawks, and I love seeing that, and I love seeing kids dressed the way we dressed in the olden days.
They're buying our old stuff online. We have a store where we sell some of our vintage stuff, and I was just about to take these boots off of the out of the mix so that they wouldn't get sold, and then I looked the next day, they were gone and sold. So so we are selling stuff online, and no, not boots. But you know what, if somebody enjoys them and has fun in them as much as I did, then God bless them.
Now, one of the things that is, I think, a really interesting, I guess, narrative that's emerging from a lot of these oral histories is, even though it's not in the front of people's mind as having, a kind of formative influence on punk rock, seems like the Bronx really does. I mean, fashion alone, but music, obviously, with the two of you. Was wondering if you all could share what you think your kind of Bronxness brought to the table with punk rock.
It brought grit and moxie, chutzpah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, the Bronx is an important borough. It really is. It's like no other.
Absolutely.
I love it. It's just real. It's not pretentious. It's not glittery and glamorous like Manhattan, but it's real. It's authentic, like we are.
Yeah.
And it's so diverse. I mean, it's just really, you go from one neighborhood to another, and it's like so different. And I love the Bronx.
Absolutely.
I'm wearing my Bronx shirt.
That's right. And
I think the Bronx influence brought like a lot of fun to punk rock. Like the Dictators were all about
That's right.
fun and cars and girls and
the Sic Fucks
and so
too.
were the
Was
Sic
like,
Fucks.
I think those were the
that
two
spirit of,
less like
bands that
seriousness
had-
or
Yeah.
pretentiousness that could
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
be part of the scene.
Definitely, and
Just-
especially against as opposed to like the British scene that was very political and very,
That's right.
Fashion.
Yeah.
fashion oriented.
More about
But
fashion.
we were more like DIY and let's have a laugh and a few drinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember.
It's more down and dirty.
Yeah. I remember Ross was saying something similar. He said the Dictators kind of always felt a little bit out of place in some of the circles too because of that. So that's interesting to hear you all talk about that. Now, you both kind of already answered this, at least in part with the last answer, but the final question I have for you both before, seeing if there's anything else you want to talk about is, what does the Bronx represent to you?
Home
It's our home.
and stability and just really real and solid. When we finally moved to the Bronx, that's where we settled.
Yeah.
And that's was our home, and
it's still
safety.
your home.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm there sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
My
But she's
husband
taken
hates
over.
my Bronx apartment because it's so filled with all my stuff, all my collection of all my life. So it's cluttered with tchotchkes, and I still love it. And
Absolutely.
it's still home to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, Tish, what about you?
Oh, yeah, same thing. I was thinking about how, we have a history here. We went to school in the Bronx. We used to shop on Fordham Road, go to Alexander's and Jan's and the record store. I can't remember the name of the record store.
There's Crazy Eddie was there at one point.
Yeah,
There are
that was a little later, but there was one
few
that was there
there.
earlier that it was driving me crazy.
Huh.
It was like near
Yeah.
Jan's.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we'll have to find out what that was. But, it's going to Marty's Donuts. And,
Lowe's.
Oh yeah, for
Lowe's
sure.
Paradise.
Lowe's of course.
it's we've been in the Bronx probably, longer than any other place.
Yeah.
We love it.
Liebman's. That's
Liebman's.
right. Shout out to
Mother's
UV
Bakery.
That's right.
There's so many good places, and
Yeah.
Riverdale Diner.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, is there anything that you all want to share, memories that maybe you were talking about leading up to this that you didn't have the chance to share yet, or that hasn't come up naturally?
Let me check. We had a list.
She's got a list.
Okay, good.
We made a
Yes.
list yesterday.
Yes,
of
great,
What
great.
we wanted to.
Stories or anything like
Yeah.
that need to be shared.
We used to break into people's swimming pools.
Oh,
In the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, where at?
In Fieldston.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
okay,
that
yes.
was where you have to go.
I mean, they're
to
mostly
go where the rich
unoccupied houses
people-
anyway, so.
Go where the rich people live, and then
That's
you can
right.
go swimming. You might not like it, but you know. So we used to do that. We were in an apartment, a swimming pool that belonged to an apartment building once,
Yeah.
and the police came,
Oh, my
And-
God.
and they said, you know, we need your names, and you know, we know you're going to give the correct names. I said, yes, thank you, yes, we will. And so they didn't want any trouble. They really didn't want to go to court or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
Snooky gives the name of her arch enemy who lived in Riverdale, and I said my name was Patsy Cline because that was
Oh, my God.
all I could think of. I love country.
Oh, my
So,
God, that's great.
Anyway, that was one of our Bronx experiences.
Yeah, what else did we have? I got my name at the White Castle on Fordham Road.
Okay. Talk about that.
Yeah.
That luckily is still around.
We used to, after
Yes.
partying at Max's and all that, when we were very glam,
Yeah.
we went to White Castle, and I know I had my goody two shoes platform silver shoes that were like, you know, that high, and which one? Do
I
you
had
remember?
my purple shiny glitter platforms that I had gotten in London.
When we went on the tour with Captain Beefheart. So,
Oh, I
she
see.
bought those in
So
London.
we were all glammed up, and we went to White Castle.
It must
to
have been
top off the night.
4:30, 5 in the morning, and to get our hamburgers, and these little kids were there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they just snuck out of the house
Huh.
or if they were homeless or whatever, but they started saying that they were gonna, you know, how weird we looked and everything. And
Yeah.
they said, "What kind of shoes are those? We're gonna steal your shoes," and all this. And their names were Snooky and Junior.
Okay.
So all the way home, she was Snooky and I was Junior.
Oh my
So we were,
God.
you know, we were talking like Snooky and Junior. I'm gonna take your shoes and all this stuff. So that's how she got her name Snooky.
Wow. It all started at the White Castle on Fordham Road.
And
That's
she
right.
still calls me Junior. So
That's funny.
other people, we have a couple of friends who call me Junior.
Wow. Wow. That's a great story.
See, there was Jan's. Our mother would take us to Jan's.
Of course.
Um,
Staple at one point.
yes, we'd buy records at the drugstore on Riverdale Avenue.
Oh, okay.
Um,
We used to go to the bars in the Bronx. Like we used to, there was a bar right by our house called Downey's.
Downey's, okay.
And we used to go there, and Reardon's on Fordham Road.
Oh, on
and
Fordham
the,
Road.
The
and
cabin.
the cabin
Okay.
had the best jukebox.
It had
Really?
like an oldies jukebox back then, so you could hear like doo-wop.
Okay, wow.
And so we used to hang out there, and you know, there were some cool bars in the terminal, of course.
The terminal, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the ways we got turned on to great music, including Captain Beefheart,
Yeah.
is that I had sent away for $1 for this compilation album that I saw in the Village Voice, and it was called Zapped
Oh,
by
okay.
Frank Zappa. His
Okay,
compilation
sure.
of like bands he produced,
Wow.
including Wildman Fisher
Yes.
and all different people, and that's how we got turned on to Captain Beefheart.
I think even the Grateful Dead
see.
were on that, weren't they, or something? On the Zapped
Yeah.
album?
And Jeff
Somebody-
and Maria Muldaur.
Okay.
All sorts of
All sorts
Yeah.
of people.
people who actually made it later, and and then we got the Big Ball, which was a double album.
Yeah, I guess it was $2.
It was $2. It was $2, yeah.
I still have them.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah. What else do you see there?
Oh, our first gig, I guess, as Porno Rock Review was at the NYU Uptown campus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Where at on that campus? Just in.
Silver Hall.
It was in the first one
Was
wasn't
it
the
Silver?
I think so. Wait,
Or
wait.
the
we
Student
did.
Center?
It was in the basement in the student, or in the cafeteria maybe, or something.
Interesting.
It was
Or did we
gas-
play there twice?
We may have.
Wow.
I remember we played at the Uptown campus, and then we played
Oh, yeah, downtown.
downtown. And I
Okay.
remember one of the shows, the second show was really bad, and the guy said something like, "You were so good last time," or something
What
like that.
happened?
Oh, you know what? First
The band wouldn't rehearse. They just would never rehearse.
But the first time we played there, it was in a little like coffee shop or something. You and
Huh.
we did something with and then we got booked for like the real show where they paid you.
Oh, okay. I see. Wow.
But
That's interesting. I didn't. Yeah, I haven't heard of concerts happening there before. So.
and then
Wow.
we did New Year's Eve at the NYU downtown
The downtown campus.
Remember when Eric came? I gave him
oh, yeah.
I gave him Eric Emerson from Andy Warhol's Eric Emerson, and the Magic Tramps. I gave him 2 Quaaludes, and he came and did a guest spot.
And he
Wow.
brought his big angel wings and everything.
Wow, that's incredible. Other stories that you want to share that haven't been shared yet?
We'd go to the bowling alley on Broadway
Okay.
near, I guess, 238th Street.
Yeah,
Our cousin
yeah,
was
yeah,
working
yeah.
there.
I
She'd give us
see.
free food.
That's great. And
Yeah.
would you all go to there's a Marble Hill theater? Was there another movie theater?
Yeah.
Oh,
Further up Broadway?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
There.
think were there 2 theaters?
I think there were 2. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all those things are gone now.
Yeah.
John's Bargain Store, that was there.
Okay,
right by
sure.
the theater. But
And we'd go bicycle riding at night all around Fieldston
Oh wow. Wow.
with our friends.
yeah, we would
It
do a
was
lot of
fun.
trespassing too.
Yeah, we
That's
did.
probably when you'd break into the pools.
Yeah, there was like some like fancy. Was it a private home or was it some kind of something?
Alderbrook.
Alderbrook, huh? Huh.
We'd sneak onto their property and
Go in
smoke pot. I think there was a pool.
Wow.
We'd go all sorts of places to smoke pot. 'cause we couldn't
Down by
smoke
the
pot.
railroad track.
Oh,
by
of
the Marble Hill
course.
Station.
And a lot of places to go in that neighborhood to smoke
Yeah,
pot. So.
yeah. And then sometimes we'd venture out to like Untermeyer Park or something.
Oh,
'cause it
sure,
was
sure.
Very cool.
Yeah,
And Van Cortlandt Park, that was pretty cool back then. like,
absolutely.
in the
Yeah,
old
we'd go up
days.
on those rocks and there's a graveyard up there.
Yes.
A
Yes.
tiny
I've
little
been up there
graveyard,
before,
and the Van Cortlandt Mansion is very cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just can't believe they built the pool so close to it. Like
know.
that was, to me, that was such a bad idea. It was like just made it, I don't know, weird.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but wow. Well, a lot of really rich memories that you both shared. Thank you both for being a part of this
Oh.
project.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Of course.
thanks so much.
Proud to be part of it.